Hello YouTube. Right. Been watching a personal favourite of mine and I'm going to do some kind of review on the box set and the actual programme. Did some digging on some information. Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, this set the standard back in the 80s. This was the only cartoon, actually, back then to me. It had character driven stories. The characters actually developed in this, and there's a lot of dark stuff going on around it. I mean, absolutely incredible. It's a shame. I'm doing this because recently I found out some fans got together and did a final episode of Dungeons and Dragons Requiem, you know, and it blew me away because it finished, didn't it, on the fairy dragons, which was a bit of a letdown episode on the final episode. Michael Raves, who wrote probably seven of the best stories, did pan a final episode together. So the final, well, I'll go into that in a minute. There's a lot of stuff, like Tiamat was voiced by a man, even though Tiamat was a female. Did people like Uni? I quite like Uni, but there's a lot of debate on that. A lot of people didn't, and I think it was cute and fairy. I mean, I did quite a bit of research into it, so forgive me. Peter Cullen did the voice of Venger. He's the dude that does all that, the big voices in the cinema, on the trailers, and when we used to get VHS, he'd come onto the trailers for movies. He was Optimus Prime as well in the Transformers back then. Did Hank and Sheila, was there something going on? I always thought Hank were always more for Diana. Sheila were a bit of a whinge bag for me. I mean, I liked the character, but I prefer Diana. I thought there's a moment with Hank and Diana where she has got her arms around. I think there was more going that way. There might have been a bit of competition between them both. So was something going on? I think Sheila were into him. I think you can sort of tell that. But she was like quite a motherly character. Again, it was quite unique. Also, when they got all the weapons, right? And it took me years to realise this, that when they got the weapons, each weapon represents each of their personalities. It's like Eric, right? When they meet when they're in the Oasis, I forgot what the episode's called, and they meet him, the Arab guy with the big elephant, like with his caravan looking for his daughter, with the time demon. I mean, that is a really fucked up, weird episode, and it freaked me out, you know, when I was a kid, because you know when he came out under the bed and took him away. Real dark stuff. And this is a cartoon programme. We used to get it in the UK 20 to 5 on a Monday. I was about 17 at the time, and I used to come in from work and watch it after He-Man. I'll talk about He-Man briefly in a minute. You know, like that episode, Eric turns out he's asleep and he's cuddling his shield, he's got his cape round. He says, I wish my father were like that. And that was quite touching. I mean, this cartoon, it's not like E-Man, and where I have an issue and he go out and twat Skeletor and then everything will be alright, and he'd give us all a moralistic lecture about don't strike matches and it's dangerous, you know what I mean? But alright, E-Man, but alright for a bit of action. Completely, totally, utterly pointless story. It was alright. For me, Dungeons and Dragons was the cartoon, this and Thundercats. I mean, I wrote quite a bit down about this. Teddy Fields, who plays Bobby, is a dentist now. I mean, that apparently. So I've listened to the fan commentaries. Sheila and Diane were very strong characters in a cartoon. Sheila like the mother, Diana was like the leader. If Hank had fallen, big fan of Hank the man. You know what I mean? I think Diana would have been the leader, definitely. You know, screenwriter Michael Rave wrote seven, I've said before, 7 of the best episodes. Absolutely superb. The characters grew in the series, which made it unique for the time. I've said this already, it did. I've just watched it recently, and you know, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then after it, I'll play the final episode, which is on YouTube. In The Treasure of Tardos, I mean, it's hinted that Venger was good once, you know, and that's a superb episode. So I'm going to go into Venger and Dungeon Master in a minute. Eric is more than just comic relief. I found Eric's character, he was selfish. I mean, I think we've all known people like Eric over the years. I think even I've been like Eric at times in my life, you know. He wasn't a coward, he was just out for himself, and he had to survive with these people. And for World War and the comic, he always somehow stepped up to the mark, but he shielded his feelings. So like the comic relief, do you know what I mean? But his character takes an interesting turn in the final episode. I mean, the whole journey of it and the artwork were just spectacular. You know, when this got cancelled, I was gutted. It was time when we didn't have the internet. I remember I set the video on the Monday and it wasn't on. It just disappeared. Do you know what I mean? And I got off for West Dungeons and Dragons this week. Just fucking fucked off, and that was it. And then I managed, when they had some down at the video library, and then I think it was SFX magazine when it started coming out, did a couple of pages on it, and they said, well, you know, we're cancelled. There was a bit of scandal around it as well. Some like groups, parent groups in America said it was a bit dark. You know, the whole series, some of the episodes. I mean, as an adult now, I've watched it, and there is some dark stuff in there. I mean, some of the artwork is just mind-blowing, and the storylines, and the demons, and the zombies. I mean, this cartoon did cross the line in quite a lot of areas. It really did. I personally, when they made them awful films that I don't want to talk about, Dungeons and Dragons, they shouldn't have done that. They should have gone with this cartoon series. On the roller coaster card, they had the TSR logo from the game, didn't they? And I think I did. I mean, you know, I did write quite a bit down, and I was going to rehearse this, but because I'm in a rush, I've got to do it. You know, so I'm going through it. I think that's all like the little bits I've done. I mean, Tiamat the Dragon to me was like, I don't think Tiamat were good or evil. I think in the cartoon, I think Tiamat was just a force of nature. Did what it fucking pleased. And, you know, Venger, he was like the representation of evil. But there were other powers bigger than him. And I think it come out Dungeon Master were more powerful than him. I think like in the top three were Tiamat, Dungeon Master than him. But Tiamat, I think, were beyond good and evil somehow. They all said it were evil. I just think, it were like Galactus in a sort of weird sort of way in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons. Now the whole thing about Venger, we find out Venger had a sister, which were interesting. And, you know, there's a great fight between him, because he traps his sister. And she's wearing the same get up as him. I mean, a few people have said, you know, Venger in a dress, you know. There's a great episode with the Kronos crystal, where he's getting people from her sister's past. Gives this Nazi pilot a futuristic jet, and he's flying around. But no, the American is in the jet, and he's going, come in base, come in base. There's a man on a horse in a dress chasing it. It's quite funny, you can start laughing. You know, even that was a top episode. But I mean, I'm going to go into my favourite episode. Was the Dragon's Graveyard. It for me, that typified the entire series. That did. It's basically they're on the run. They get to another portal. It's like it's the end of the last adventure, and we're just like a Bond movie, starting at the end of something and going to something new. And Venger stops them from getting home. They survive, and they're pissed. The lot of them are pissed. Do you know what I mean? They've had enough of Venger. And Dungeon Master turns up and says, I've got a quest that could lead to a way home. And you know, they're saying, look, we've had enough, we want to go home, we're sick of this fucking place. Look, we want Venger his last time. So he tells them, you know, Dragon's Graveyard, you know, it's Tiamat, and they all say, well, how does Tiamat get us there? He says, well, ask her. And anyway, they end up confronting Tiamat, and they get to Dragon's Graveyard. I'll just cut short a big chunk of it because I don't want to sit and explain it all. And Tiamat, it says, well, it mentioned Venger and fucking, because he used the weapons to get there. And Tiamat says, yeah, alright, I'll go get Venger, and I'll bring him here. And, because Venger, like, zap Uni twice, and Uni's down. I mean, fucking, I don't know what to make of Uni. I mean, it's cute, and it's lovely and it does have potential. It would, I mean, quite frankly, in the Valley of the Unicorns, should have fucking left it there, really. But it's the way it is. And like, anyway, Tiamat kidnaps Venger, because this is how powerful Tiamat is. Venger's not the big power in the land, he's on his way there, but he just comes and fucking grabs Venger and shoves him in Dragon's graveyard, and then there's this big fight. And it's an amazing battle, and in the end they bring Venger down, I mean, because their weapons are so powerful now, they've increased in power. They bring fucking Venger down, and fucking Presto gets the magic balls out, and they fucking shove it round, trap Venger against this rock, and fucking Hank's there with bow and arrow, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna finish it now. And they all say, well, it's up to you, Hank. And they free Venger, and Venger falls to the floor, and it's such an amazing episode. And you know, he said, he just said, well, I just want to show you, I want you to know we fucking beat you, you know, they just once. And that was fucking awesome, you know. Anyway, Dungeon Master turns up, manipulating everything as usual, right, I'm going home in a minute, and says, go my son, and all starts like his son, and he's like, what, fucking hell, this is like, what, Venger's his son. And, I mean, because there's other internet tales about him being good once, and that, and you start putting this, like, backstory together over 1,000 years between them both. And you're just going from like journey to journey after that. And Dungeon Master is the ultimate manipulator. Like, I know he's a force of good, but he is a manipulator. I think personally you could send him home anytime. But he manipulates everything. I mean, he's a good person, and he won't see them children out. Because when they're in that maze, right, there's an episode of a maze, right, I could go into what name's episode, I'm not going to do that. But there's, where they're in a maze, and he says, oh, it's full of my fucking other pupils. So there's been others over time, they've all failed, you know. And that says Dungeon Master can be quite dark, you know what I mean? And I got focused on Dungeon Master and watching this box set this time. I thought, there's so much more to you now. You're not just this like Yoda type character, like a darkish type of Yoda. So we're moving along. Another episode is where Eric, they find a box and they open it, not the one where Dungeon Master, the female Dungeon Master, Sardos, or Sardon, Sardo, whatever she's called, that little female sorceress with the box. I mean, the animation in them other dimensions with stairs and all, it's fucking mind-blowing, isn't it? And you know, they go into all that, and then they find this other box, and they open it, and the unnameable gets out. It's the devil, isn't it? They don't say what it is. And I mean, Dungeon Master's a big fight, vast amounts of energy going off, and this thing you can't look at his face. But Dungeon Master, in every world, it's known as something else. The faceless one or the unnamed, it's the devil, obviously. And you go through all level where they're all in hell, and Dungeon Master gets the powers, and they all have to team up to get out, and Vengeance, that'll try to double cross them and the rest of it. But it all ends up at the end of the episode. Eric says, well, where is it? Is it finished? And Dungeon Master said, no, it's gone off to destroy a lot of other worlds. I mean, that was left unresolved. But when it sort of zapped Venger into a lot, you know, Venger were calling it Master. Now, when we get to Requiem, right, which, oh God, I so love to see this properly animated. Now, this is what sparked my interest in it all again, after all these years. Requiem would have been a masterpiece of an animated episode, it truly would. I mean, they all go into civil war with each other, you know, falling out. And it's interesting, because Venger and Dungeon Master meet on a cliff or somewhere dodgy. And he turns around and says, you know, about, you know, they're only winning all the time because you're backing them, Dungeon Master, and Dungeon Master, I won't back them, then let's play this game. And this game, like, is afoot. And it all ends up where they all start falling out of each other because they want to get home, like, fucked off of being stuck in realm. And it is really intensely emotional and quite powerful. Anyway, Venger appears and offers them the way home, got to get this key. So anyway, I'll jump right through it all. They get to this cenotaph, and this like amoeba thing attacks them, and it's magic proof or whatever. And they get the key, and Hank, because Eric says something about Al being a prisoner or something, which were now that one interesting. So I'm doubly piqued with interest here, and I'm sort of like, yeah, go on, finally gonna get some fucking answers. And there's a big fight, and Eric's got the key, and Venger appears and says, throw the key over the abyss. Because when they get into this room in his cenotaph, there's like a stone grave, and the outline of it is Venger. They're all going, look, it's Venger without the horns and wings. And they lift the top of it, just a simple brass key, that's the beauty of it. Eric thinks to throw it over the side, they'll get home, some pot'll open, but it's not, it's all set up in it. So Venger appears and says, no, throw it over and you better go home. Because Venger does have a code of honour, so they go with that, can they believe him? And Hank figures it out, he falls back into the abyss, but then somehow Eric realises that, you know, Hank could be right, you know, because Hank shouts out, you know, I think you're right, Eric, it could be a prison, stick it in the fucking doorknob. And Eric sticks it in the doorknob, and Venger's freaking out, man, and this big blinding light comes out, fucking energy released everywhere, and Venger's just getting transformed and vaporised, all this. I mean, it would have been awesome to see this. And all this energy goes over the realm, and it's opening portals to other worlds and restoring things and destroying things. It's like some kind of new lease of life with it all. Do you know what I mean? It must be like all Venger's power, I don't know. But they look round, and there's this dude sat there, and it's Venger as a human being going, and Dungeon Master there goes, I'm sorry, Father. You know, I was influenced, you know, them centuries ago, and it's Dungeon Master's son, and it's I forgive you, son. And Hank says, the answer, this wasn't about us stopping Venger, this was about fucking Venger's redemption. Now, I think the answer could have been in this, because with Venger's sister, a similar thing happened with her. Do you know what I mean? With the rings. So she's Dungeon Master's daughter then, if that's his sister, you know. But his son, you see him, and he's a knight or something, or some kind of knight or something, or something like that. And that's it. Well, the portal opens, and Dungeon Master says, you've got a choice. You can go on now, just, you know, it's not a problem. Or you can stay and fight. There's more evil in the land and have more quests and adventures. And the funny thing is, they don't go running through portal. They're all thinking about it. You know, so they left it open beautifully. But the portal didn't close, it's open, it's still open. They can get back. So Dungeon Master, I know he brought them there. For a fact he did. Right? I know some people say he did, but obviously, you know, he could have sent them back home any time. But he used them because they were, no doubt, because they were innocent. To redeem Venger. And Dungeon Master says to Venger when they're like, so he says, you will win, Venger. And Venger's going, yeah, I'm not right, really like getting into his ego trip, you know what I mean? And that Dungeon Master's manipulating him. I mean, he's the big evil, and Dungeon Master's fucking playing him beautifully. So that's Requiem. That's where it all ends. I mean, it would be awesome if somebody could animate it and do that, you know, and turn it into a proper episode, but they'd probably get done for copyright, so they had to do it that way. I mean, I love Shadow Demon, so what happens to Shadow Demon? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, even though with all that, a lot of it is resolved, there's still other things, you know what I mean? Fantastic cartoon. I do recommend you should watch it. For me, it's not dated. I watched all of it over the last few days when I've got in. I wish there were more to watch, but I'll probably watch it again in a year's time. It's very touching somehow. It's nostalgic and everything. So I'm going to talk about the box set. I think that's the end of this review. Right. Beautiful box, solid cardboard, as you can see. Beautiful artwork. Love the artwork. As you can see, it's got Velcro things. It opens up like a little book. It says 4 DVDs inside. Beautiful picture of Presto there. Let's go. Let me know. I mean, what weapon? If you were in the realm, what weapon would you want? Obviously it's the bow in it. What Hank is, because Hank's like the leader character. The bow reflects the pointing arrow as the leader. Like I said, for each weapon reflects their personality. Do you know what I mean? Which is genius. You know what I mean? And nobody didn't realise that for years. I love the artwork on. Look at that artwork there. Brilliant, isn't it? That's on at discs. Dare to enter the realm, it says. There you go. That's brilliant. Bobby. Presto, that's like a typical beautiful Dungeons and Dragons sort of frame, isn't it? This is my favourite one. Picture cover. I'm actually going to get this copy out. This looks like they're prepared to kick ass. I mean, you know, they look fucking evil on there. Excellent. Do you know what I mean? You know, please make a film of it. I want to make a live action film with these characters in. Fucking awesome. So that's my sort of amateurish review on Dungeons and Dragons. I've probably made a few mistakes. I've tried to research it. There were a toy line. Now I remember I wanted to buy the figures for this. I never came across them years ago. But I did one day I was in a shop, I saw a Venger figure, and that's the only one I've seen. Now I've heard they were released in Europe and certain other countries, you know, and I did go on eBay looking for them actually, and I couldn't, it just kept coming up with the actual game, you know, but it would have been great to have all the figures for this, do you know what I mean? Dungeon Master and the kids and Venger and Shadow Demon and Tiamat. I did see a Tiamat on somebody's review of it. He had a Tiamat. So if anybody knows where to get this stuff from, can you let us know, guys? Please share and subscribe. That's me trying to get across my feelings on Dungeons and Dragons. It's not a professional review. I'm not an authority on it. I'm just big fan of it. That's it. It's that simple. I just love the programme. Do you know what I mean? Please watch Requiem. I do recommend it. It's on YouTube. The Dungeons and Dragons Unaired episode Requiem. Please watch it. You're going to just love it. Alright guys, so there's Dungeons and Dragons. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.